So we are starting chapter 2. Today we have finished chapter 1, was about moments and past, and now we go moments in history. History which is related to the weight of the past. So we are in chapter 2a. There will be 2 or 3 lectures on chapter 2. Moment and history. What is the history? So to start up, to warm up, I just make a resume of chapter 1. What we have done in chapter 1 about past and moment. We have seen 4 family of orthogonal polynomial, the 2 Chebyshev, the Hermite, and the Laguerre. There is the most simple orthogonal polynomial, which are matching of some graph, and we have seen directly, without doing hard machinery, we have seen directly commutative interpretation of the coefficient of the polynomial, commutative interpretation of the moments. Combining the two, you have interpretation of the linearization coefficient, and by some simple involution, we prove directly the orthogonality of this polynomial, direct proof. And then, so we have seen that the moment of Chebyshev are 2n or Catalan number, very simple numbers. We have seen the moment of the Hermite are number of involution with no fixed point, and we have seen the moment of the Laguerre are n factorial. So in fact, Laguerre polynomial, they are dependent of a parameter, but in the chapter 1, we have done with no parameter, alpha was equal to 0. And then in the second step, we have done formal orthogonality. And the formal orthogonality comes from the famous 3-term recurrence relation with coefficient bk lambda k. And then for this polynomial, they are orthogonal for some moments. The moments define the linear functional for formal orthogonality. And these moments are defined as a sum of the weight of all Motzkin paths of length n, with this weight depending on the coefficient bk lambda k. Bk, when it's a height k, you put bk. When you go down lambda k, when you go up, you put 1. The weight of the Motzkin path is the product of all the weight. And I do this the formal way. We will see today, orthogonal polynomial, usually the coefficient alpha, beta are 1/2, complex or real number. Here in this course, in combinatorics, everything is formal variable. And at the end, if you analyze this, you put the parameters to be a real variable. So for my 4 example of a simple orthogonal polynomial in the 3-term linear recurrence relation, this was lambda n equal 1 everywhere for the Chebyshev second kind, lambda 1 equal 2 equal 1 everywhere except for lambda 1 equal 2 for the other kind of Chebyshev. Hermite polynomial was bk equal 0, lambda k equal k, and Laguerre polynomial, bk was 2k plus 1, and lambda k equal k to the square. For the Laguerre with alpha equals 0. And then we finish the last session of the first chapter. We finished the first step. This was a transition with this chapter, which is devoted to the notion of history. So we have done the first step with the notion of history, like this Favart path with some weight, and we have done the history to get bijection between history of the Favart path and permutation in cycle notation. We have done also as an inverse matrix, we have done the history of this Stirling number, the number of partition, which is in bijection with such a path and with the history related to the path. By the way, I think I have confused the notation for Stirling first kind, second kind. The small s is for a number of permutation with cycle. The big S is for partition. And then in the final step, we have done the Hermite. The Hermite Favart path history gives you the coefficient of the Hermite. And from this bk lambda k equal k. And then if you take the Motzkin path, which is in fact the Dicke path, this was an extension of Motzkin path ending at level 0. You get again the Hermite polynomial, but if your path go back to 0, then you get the moment of the Hermite. Just if you put lambda k equal k, we have done a history to prove a bijection between involution with no fixed point and history. So we are going to define again in a precise way what is the history, etc. And this chapter 2 is devoted to give commutative interpretation of the moment of all the orthogonal Sheffer polynomial. So what is orthogonal Sheffer polynomial? So this is the big classification of ASCII scheme, related classification by hypergeometric orthogonal polynomial. I have not defined what is a hypergeometric function. I will maybe define this in the next chapter. When you give explicit, you can give explicit expression of each of these polynomial in terms of this notation, in terms of this hypergeometric function. So what we have done in chapter 1 was the 4 polynomial, Laguerre for alpha equal 0, Hermite, and Chebyshev first and second kind. So in chapter 2, the Sheffer polynomial, the orthogonal Sheffer polynomial, there is exactly 5 orthogonal Sheffer, the Hermite, Laguerre, Charlier, Mexner, and Mexner-Pollaczek. Jacobi is not Sheffer, but we will see in chapter 5 about exponential structure and orthogonal polynomial that it looks like Sheffer. The interpretation of Jacobi is with exponential structure, the same as Jacobi. It's a superposition of 2 Jacobi configuration, of 2 Laguerre configuration. So you ask, what is the orthogonal Sheffer polynomial? So definition, if you know what is this notation, exponential generating function. I will go back in chapter 5 to get to combinatorics related to exponential generating function. This was in part 1 of this course in chapter 4a and 4b about species, everything. But this is the definition of Sheffer polynomial. Is there exist 2 generating functions, g and f. The constant term of f must be 0, such that if you expand this in terms of exponential generating function in t, then you get some polynomial, Pn of x. And this is one possible definition of Sheffer. The second possible definition is by using some kind of delta operator defined by Rota. We will do this. We will define precisely in chapter 5 the equivalence of all this, and we will get interpretation of the delta operator in terms of history also in chapter 5. This is an extension of the differential operator acting on monomial. So there is a whole book on the Rota umbral calculus and the calcul umbral variable are hidden, and then so you do like if it's about binary coefficient, then you put them up or down. But here what we are interested in is the following proposition. It's due to Mexner, it seems, in 1934, that if you have a sequence of orthogonal polynomial, they are Sheffer polynomial if and only if they are one of the 5 possible types. There is only 5 orthogonal Sheffer, which are Hermite, Laguerre, Charlier, Mexner, and Mexner-Pollaczek. Hermite, there is no parameter. Laguerre, it's polynomial with 1 parameter. Charlier, there is 1 parameter. And Mexner-Pollaczek, there is 2 parameters. But you can restate this theorem, in fact, can have another form. Sheffer, orthogonal Sheffer polynomial, if and only if the bk lambda k satisfies this relation. So in fact, this theorem is valid with real number, polynomial and real number, in positive definite orthogonal polynomial sequence. I don't define this. It's related to the measure of under the integral, and it means that the lambda k are all strictly positive. But in this class, I don't want to go in the real analysis. We can probably it's true in a formal way. If Sheffer polynomials are defined in a formal way, orthogonal in a formal way, so I think that this theorem is true in a very formal way. You don't need to go on the real number in definite positive. That Sheffer means that the bk is a polynomial, linear polynomial in k, the lambda k is a quadratic polynomial in k, but you have the condition that you see C plus D, the condition if you want to do this in a formal way instead of real number, this may be A equals 0. So lambda k bk is a polynomial in k with formal variable a and b, which is degree 0 on 1. This is a polynomial of degree 2, but maybe it can be a polynomial of degree 1, which means that you see C plus D must not be equal to 0. Because if you put bk equals 0, lambda k equals 1, you get the Chebyshev polynomial. And these are not Sheffer polynomial. So Sheffer means bk is degree 0 or degree 1, linear in k, and lambda k is degree 1 or degree 2. Typically Hermite, the most simple is Hermite. It's lambda k equals k. So C equals 0 and D equals 1. So this must be degree 1 or 2. And so the classical analysis for orthogonal polynomial, Mexner, he proves the theorem in the following way. Then if you have this, now I go back to the real number. So first case, A equals 0, C equals 0. So C equals 0, A equals 0. So this is just a constant, or bk equals 0. So A equals 0 and lambda k. Then you get the Hermite polynomial. Second case, A is not 0. So you get a polynomial of degree 1 here. And then you look at A2 minus 4C. And if this is 0, this is the Laguerre polynomial.
B is a parameter for Hermite.
So should be 0, 0, yes. But there is, you can put a parameter, you can put Hermite with one parameter, but well, I have.
What do you get if you take B equals 1?
Because there is a big Hermite, there is Hermite with one parameter, and I don't completely remember very well. But Sheffer, no, should be, I think maybe I did not get exactly the right term. So we should check here if B can, also it should be 0.
Yeah, B is a parameter.
Mm-hmm. So this is the classification the Mexner get to get the 5 case of Sheffer polynomial. So you classify A is not 0, then in the case it exists discriminant, and then in that case you get Laguerre polynomial. So you have bk is linear, and lambda k is a certain quadratic polynomial with relation of the coefficient A and C. Then you have A not 0 and C equals 0. And then, so this is now degree 1, and you get the Charlier polynomial. So Charlier is almost like Hermite, but you put a parameter here, A not 0. So the bk, you can put bk equal b, or bk, you know, k equal 1, b equal 0. You can put a parameter here and get the Charlier polynomial. So it's like Hermite with one more parameter on the level, on the bk. Now you have two cases. If this is positive, we are in the real number. Then you get the Mexner polynomial with two parameters, beta and c. There is a change of a variable in the parameter. And if it's negative, it's Mexner-Polaczek. So this is the classical notation. So we are in a real analysis, but you are going to understand in this chapter that everything is formal. So in fact, I'm going to work with, I can work with bk equal any parameter, any ak plus b with a, b formal variable, and lambda k with c and d. So I can take 4 parameters and get a family of polynomial, which would be the all possible Sheffer formal orthogonal polynomial.
B and D don't seem to matter at all.
Yes, yes.
There is some shifts you could do.
Yes. There is some shift.
Last one is probably, what is the symbol?
Last one, this one?
Symbol for Mexner-Polaczek.
Oh, there is yes, something, yes. This is a Charlie. Sorry. There is a mistake. There is it's 2 parameter polynomial. This is not at all this one. Sorry. When I tap on my computer, I make error, faute de frappe with my pen. So we are going to give commental interpretation for this 5 polynomial, but when the parameter will be formal parameter. In fact, I will give commental interpretation of the moment for bk lambda k with all this a, b, c, d with 4 parameters. But you can reduce to one or two parameters in the real world, real analysis. So I go back to my ASCII scheme of hypergeometric polynomial, and I am going to give the moments of all this orthogonal Schaeffer. I have put Laguerre in the frame in red. It's because if you interpret the moments of the Laguerre polynomial for a single parameter alpha, you get a bijection between permutation and a history with a weight alpha. And this bijection you can get at the same time, from the same bijection, a unique bijection, you get all the 5 Schaeffer orthogonal polynomial. Even you can get more general with all possible parameters for BK polynomial in degree 1 and lambda k polynomial in degree 2. So polynomial in degree 2, there's 3 parameters, polynomial in degree 1, 2. So there should be 5 parameters in the general. And I can give formally everything comes from the Laguerre bijection from the Laguerre case. So Laguerre polynomial. In the general case, with the parameter alpha, we have seen Laguerre as a matching of the complete bipartite graph, but it was alpha equals 0. So Laguerre polynomial, in general, with the coefficient alpha, can be defined by this orthogonal relation, an integral, the measure, and this is a gamma function, which is defined by Euler as an extension of n factorial. So there is different expression definition. Definition as this is a unique sequence orthogonal to this measure. We can define also as an expression a hypergeometric function. But we'll maybe define this more precisely in chapter 5. Chapter 5 will be interpretation of the coefficient of the polynomials themselves. So you need a formula for the coefficient, everything. Or you can also have an explicit expression for the Laguerre polynomial. Or you can also have an exponential generating function. All this is equivalent definition. So there is Laguerre notation I'm going to use in all these curves, as I have used in previous part of the curves. It's not exactly the Ln. This is the Ln tilde. It's Ln tilde should be the monic Laguerre or the commental polynomial, which means it's up to the factor it's minus 1 power n. If you take the standard Laguerre, you have to multiply by n factorial, multiply by minus 1 power n, and then you get the commental Laguerre. So I will not use all along the class this tilde. All my polynomials are like the Hermite. It was not exactly the same as the standard Hermite. So when I will again use this notation instead of this modified notation. So for the moment, we don't need at all to use all this formula. What we need is to start from the BK lambda k, and I want to give the interpretation of the moment of the polynomial. Chapter 2 is to understand the moments of this 5 Schaeffer orthogonal polynomial from the understanding the moment of Laguerre with parameter alpha. So the general Laguerre satisfies this relation, BK equal 2k plus alpha plus 1, and lambda k is k multiplied by k plus alpha. And the moment of the Laguerre, the monic Laguerre polynomial, are exactly this, which is in fact the polynomial enumerating permutation according to the Stirling number, according to the number of cycles, or according to the number of left to right minimum elements. So if you put alpha equals 0, that was what we have done in chapter 1, as a matching polynomial of the complete bipartite graph, then mu n is n factorial. And if you put alpha equal 1, the moment is n plus 1 factorial. Well, there is a distinction. So in the bijection I'm going to define is related to this moment. Is related to alpha equal 1, n plus 1 factorial. So this moment, if I put alpha equal 1, I get n plus 1 factorial. So alpha will be a parameter in my bijection, parameter in the history, which is going to become the number of cycles or number of left to right minimum element of the permutation. And in this bijection, I will get this as moment. So I am working on n+1 factorial.
Do you think, if you think of mu(n) as a function of alpha, then alpha.
Yes, mu(n) here is a function of alpha, yes.
So if I sum over all, I didn't understand.
This is the polynomial,
Yeah.
the moment. This is the moment of the. This define you. As soon as you have bk lambda k, the three-term recurrence relation define you a sequence of orthogonal polynomial. I claim the moment are this, which means that if you put the sum of all Motzkin paths of length n with bk, this valuation on the level, this valuation on the down step, the sum of all the way to all these Motzkin paths with this valuation should be this.
No, my question is, what is the coefficient of alpha to the power k in that? Does it have something?
Well, yes, it's easy. The coefficient of alpha. It's exactly a classical expression for Stirling number. S and k, yes. Number of permutation with k cycle. So the coefficient, it's easy to extract or to have the exponential generating function. But in this chapter, I will work with n+1 factorial. Well, I will remind you, chapter part 1, we will do 10 minutes to remind you about Stirling number, inversion table, all the classical, because I'm going to do bijection with permutation, so I need some elementary fact on permutation. I will recall this in this today. So I'm going to give a bijection between permutation on n+1 element and Laguerre history. I will define what is a Laguerre history. It's something related to the weighted Motzkin path. But for the general Scheffer, and in some other case, it will be more convenient to work with this moment. So, which means I am going to give the Laguerre history, but with some restriction. In your construction, you will get some restriction, so that instead of getting all permutation on n+1, you will get permutation on n element. It will be very easy to go. So this will be a sub-restriction of this history. So the main definition is a bijection, to show you the bijection between, this is a Laguerre history. I'm going to define what is a Laguerre history. Yeah, so, and permutation on n+1 element. So it was a bijection when I was working with Jean Françon from Strasbourg, and I have already give some part of this bijection in part 1, chapter 4. We repeat it in part 3, chapter 4, about the PASEP. So here I will recall everything with more information, because I will need more to go really on the combinatorics of the Scheffer polynomial. And so we'll get explanation of this, and then from this bijection, with the alpha parameter, I will get back the moment of the Hermite, I will get back the moment of the Charlier, which are the Bell number, the number of partition. The parameter A, in the Charlier there was one parameter. The parameter will be counting partition by the number of blocks. So see, everything which is natural in combinatorics fit very well with classical orthogonal polynomial in the real analysis. But all this was discovered in the 70s, 80s. It was beginning at the before there was nobody was really interested in doing in a combinatorial way orthogonal polynomial. And we will see some. So this polynomial are two parameters. A special case will give the moment the number of order partition. It's a partition like here, but the block, there is a total order on the block. And another special case of this, for special case, you will get the second number, which is, we have seen in part 1 of this course, on the art of bijection combinatorics, we have seen that this is alternating permutation. So this is very special case. In fact, the very general case is this. So you see, this is a 5 Scheffer polynomial. This is a Laguerre polynomial. Here, bk lambda k. This is the Hermite. the Charlier, you see, and this is the more complicated two parameter. So here are the BK, the lambda K, and here the moment. Here it's the formula, here the summation permutation. So I claim that all this moment come from the single bijection for the Laguerre case. So the Laguerre case is on permutation, so I need to remind you some very classical things about permutation. So we have, this was chapter 4a, I think, in the part 1 of the course. So very classic. Different interpretation of permutation. You can see a permutation like a bijection from an element to an element. 1 go to 4, 2 go to 3, etc. So go back to this chapter. I will go a little faster. It's very classic. Or you have the cycle notation. Permutation, say 1 go to 4, 4 go to 7, 7 go to 1. So this is a cycle notation. Cycle is an elementary circuit in graph theory up to a permutation. There is a very classical bijection. I was talking about the distribution of Stirling number permutation by number of cycle, and Stirling number permutation by left to right minimum element. So there is a very classical bijection. Cycle to the cycle notation. You can get a word. You can see a permutation as a word. So what we do, First, you take the minimum of each cycle. The cycles are not no order of the cycle, but I take the minimum in each cycle, 1, 6, 2, 5, and then I totally ordered. I put an order of the cycle such that the minimum elements are decreasing. So this is a first cycle, 6, then 5, then 2, and then 1. So this gives me this 4 block here. So we have a total order on the cycle. And now for each cycle, I associate a word. I start from the minimum element, like 5. Oh, no, this is not a good example. Like 2 here. I start from the minimum element 2, and then I follow the cycle, and this gives me a word. And I claim that this is a bijection between permutation having k cycle and word having k left to right minimum element. So what is a left to right minimum element? When you have a permutation, it's like a word, then with distinct letters, this notation LR min, it will be left to right minimum element. We will use also left to right maximum element, right to left minimum, right to left maximum. There is 4, but here is left to right minimum. So left to right minimum element, xi, it's the minimum. No, this should be xi, the minimum of all the letters which are before. So the left to right minimum element are this. It's a letters which is minimum over all the letters which are at the left. So xi is a left to right minimum. You should have an I here instead of xn. It's a minimum of all the letters x1, x2, etc., xi. So this is the sequence. And you see the sequence of minimum elements are decreasing in this permutation. This is the first exercise in computer science to compute the minimum of a sequence. So you have to make a loop, and then you look the first one, and you continue. If it's bigger, then, okay, if it's smaller, strictly, then you replace the 6 by the 5, and you continue. So the number of time you replace the local minimum is going to be exactly the left to right minimum element. And now I can reconstruct the cycle from this. See, so you put 6. So each of these words, this cut the permutation into factors. So 6, 8 give you this cycle, you see. 5, 2, 3. No, 5 give you a fixed point, cycle of n1. No, 2, 3, 4 give you another cycle. So cutting your word into block give you exactly what I was doing before. Give you exactly from the cycle you get this sequence of block, and from the permutation you get back the block, then by left to the right, and you get back the cycle. This was called by Dominique Foutas the fundamental transform in 65. Because at that time, there was very few bijection. And this was the first fundamental transform, second fundamental transform, then third, and then there was no more. There were thousands, hundreds of thousands of bijection. So I have been living for 50 years in this world, and I have seen so many bijection. So this course is to try to put some order in this jungle of bijection, everything, and to put maybe different bijection are under the same roof. Like Robinson-Schonstedt and the tableau we have seen for the PASEP, they are under the same roof. So many bijection, you see. So it's difficult to try to extract what is the essence. This is maybe the first attempt to do some, not a list of bijection. So I will need classical notation. For a permutation, a rise or a descent, it's, if you look two consecutive value, if they're bigger or lower, like this. So for you go up, say, go down. Sometimes it's called the sequence of rises and descent is called the up-down sequence. You go up, down, up, up. Also in red, I put the rises, in blue, the descent. And if you call A and K the number of permutation on the symmetry group N, having K rises, this is a polynomial, which are very classical polynomials, the Eulerian polynomial. Again, this goes back to Euler 1755. Enumeration of permutation by number of rises. And this was one of the first monographs on combinatorics, Théorie géométrique des polynômes eulériens by Foutas and Zoutran-Berger in 1970. Geometric theory means, because the calculus you are going to put picture, interpretation. So it means combinatorial theory or bijective combinatorics. Slowly it was geometry and then bijective combinatorics or theory geometric. So Zoutran-Berger was my master for my PhD thesis. It was wonderful to meet this man. So distribution of permutation by rises is the same as distribution by exceedance. Eulerian polynomial also can be viewed as an exceedance. So what is an exceedance? We will show in this course on orthogonal polynomial. I will need in different chapters notion of exceedance. An exceedance, a strict exceedance is I is less than sigma or I. So here are the exceedance, or sometimes people call the weak. If it's equality, then this is a weak exceedance. It depends. Here it will be the strict. To show that the distribution of permutation by number of exceedance is the same as distribution of permutation by number of rises, a bijection, an easy bijection will show this. This is notation, exceedant of sigma. So there is this is the same polynomial. They have the same distribution, exceedance and rises. This is called sometimes the Eulerian distribution. Anything in permutation having the distribution of the Eulerian polynomial. And the bijection is, well, we have nothing to do. It's the same as the one before. This is a cycle notation, which transforms into a word. Each cycle becomes a left to right minimum element. But if you look carefully, the exceedant, see this is in red, I put in each cycle, starting from the minimum element, all the edges are red except the last one. Now here in the word, inside each of these words, this is red edges, this is rises, because they come from all the edges in red in the cycle. But then you can check that if you finish here, then there is no rises between this term and this term. So the rises in red are only coming from the cycle. These red edges except the last one when you look. So you can check in this bijection, number of exceedants in red the cycle become number of rises inside the block. You are convinced, Amri? No, no convinced. Well, you have to homework to go and see that there cannot be rises at the end of a block. It's a descent. It's come from the construction because this element is smaller than this one. And here we are going up, up, up. We have rises.
But why can't you have inside your cycle like 2, 3, 5, 4, 9? Go up and down inside the cycle.
So you are right. I make confusion that the red edges, this is a particular case which may be confused. The red edges inside the cycle are only the exceedants, only the rises inside. There may be some edges in green which are not in red. It's not only these last edges, but inside the cycle. There may be, for example, you can put, suppose you put 5, 2, 3, for 9, 2, 3, 5 would be possible to have a 5 here.
But
And then from
one green edge in each cycle.
So in each cycle, there is some edges are green when there is a descent. Some edges are in red. So all the edges which are in red inside the cycle, not necessarily all the edges except this one, will become rises in this block. So the edges in red, the cycle will become edges in red in this block. Only thing you have to check is that there is no extra rises between the end of a block and beginning of another one. Okay, think about it. So the up-down sequence of permutation is a sequence of rises and descent. So it's a word in 2 letters of length n-1. And I speak about the second number, Euler number, the number of alternating permutation, which has the moment of some Mechner-Polatzek polynomial for certain parameter. So what means the second number? It's a coefficient of an exponential expansion of the second number, 1 over cosine. And this number is the number of alternating permutation. So what is alternating? It's like this. This is an alternating permutation. When you look the up-down sequence, it goes down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, etc. You start with going down, and then you alternate in up and down. So this is alternating permutation. If you have an odd number, this will be the coefficient of tangent t in the exponential expansion of tangent t. And if you have an even number, it will be the second number, coefficient over expansion of 1 over cosine t. So and I will finish with the last definition, the sub-exceedant function. I am going to introduce inversion table. Sub-exceedant function is a function from 1n to 0n minus 1, such that for every I, f of I is between 0 and strictly less than I. In fact, this is the most natural interpretation of n factorial. It's not permutation. You need a bijection between permutation and this set of sub-exceedant function. Because this is, the choice is 1 choice, 2 choice, 3 choice, 4 choice. So it's a product of 1 by 2 by 3 by 4. It's immediate. But there is some different bijection between permutation and this. So one possible bijection is the so-called inversion table. I will need, especially when I will work with Q-analog in chapter 6. But I will need also in this chapter the bijection. So inversion table, you take a permutation and you count f of x. So I am going to define f, a sub-exceedant function associated to the permutation. It's the number of j such that I is less than j less or equal to n, and sigma of j is less than sigma of I. So if you look the permutation as a planarization, you see you have this term, this is sigma of I, this is sigma of j, so there is an inversion inside the permutation. This is called an inversion, and the total number of inversion is the inversion number of the permutation, which is very important to define the determinant of the matrix. So here is my permutation. Here is an inversion table. And so here, I take for each number, for example, 8, I count, I put a 3, Because how many elements on the right of 8 are less than 8? There is 5, 1, 4, there is 3 elements. Or 6, how many elements at the right of 6 are strictly less than 6? There is this, no, but there is 3. So below each number, I put the number of, below each number like this, I put a number of elements like this. And now f of x, then you take the value, you take a 1. So 1 is 0 below. So I put 1, 0. So see, for example, for 4, I put a 0 below because I just repeat this column, but I put the black number in total order. So you get a sub-existent function. For each number here, each value, you count how many elements are less than 4 and at the right of 4. For example, here it's 0 because there's nobody. But here, for the 6, it's 3. How many elements on the right of 6 less than 6? So at the right of 6, there's only 3 elements. And so this is a bijection, inversion table. And you can write an inversion table like this, you see, also. This 0, 1, 1, 0, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, you can put like this, 0, 1, 1, 2. In each column, you put the value of f of x. And if you look now, the right to left minimum element, the right to left minimum element are exactly the element like on the first row here. It's the element having nobody at the right. If there is no inversion at the right, there is nobody less than them at the right. So this is right to left minimum element. And here you can form this picture. You can easily get this polynomial enumerating Stirling number, because what is a choice? This is 1 choice, 2 choice, 3 choice, 4 choice, but instead of putting 1, 2, 3, 4, you put x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3, because in each column, there is 1 choice which gives x, and all the other choice give you, in the column I, you have x plus I minus 1, all the other possible choice. So each of these terms of this polynomial is an elementary, it's a generating function for one column. For one column, there is I. But if I put a weight on the first position, it will be x plus I minus 1. And then all the columns are independent, so I have a product. So go back to the first part of the theory, of course, and you about elementary proof of this from this picture. So I give the reverse bijection, which I will use in this chapter 2 to explain the Laguerre history. So this is an inversion table, 0, 0, and I'm to reconstruct the permutation. Suppose I have this sequence, which is like this sequence, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 6, 3. So I put them like this, 0, 0, and then I have an empty cell. This is again the idea of history. I'm going to make an history to reconcile the permutation. What means history? The sequence of primitive operation. The primitive operation is I put a number in the empty cell, and on each side of the number I put new empty cell on the left, new empty cell on the right. So the elementary operations are very trivial. You fill up, you choose one of the empty cell, or the free cell, which is like this, written in brown. You choose one of these cells, you put a number inside, and on the left and on the right of the number, you add 2 new empty cells. So number of empty cells, each time is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have to, okay, but where to put? Here I have to put the 2. I have 2 different choices. So I take the 2 in choice 0. So I have to make a convention. The choice are labeled. Sometimes the choice are labeled from 1 to something, for the Laguerre history, for the Hermite history. But here the choice starts at 0, 0, 1, etc., until the total number of possibilities minus 1. And I am going to label this empty cell from right to left. So this is choice number 0, choice number 1. This is the 2 possible choices. So, okay, you take choice number 0, I put the 2, and the whole, I open 2 new open cells on right and left. Now the next one. So there is 3 possible choice. And you take for the 3, you put the 3 in choice number 1. This is 0, 1, so you put the 3 here. And again, you open 2 new cells. So each time you have a local partial permutation with the total number of empty cells, which each time increase by 1. So of course, you will get n factorial, total number of permutation. But I will get the inversion table because this red number, see, 1, is because at the right of 3, how many elements are less than 3? There is 2. But maybe there will be more elements coming in this cell, but they will be bigger. So there will be no more element less than 3 at the right. So you get exactly the number of inversion. So this will be the reverse bijection. So choice number 3, the last one, 4, 5. So you continue like this, 6, and you get a nice permutation. And I claim that the inversion table is exactly this red number. And this is related to, so the total number of inversion is the sum of all this number. And in fact, this will be the Q analog. This will be chapter 6. If you put, instead of taking the choice number I, you put Q power I, then there will be a weight on this history. And this is a very simple history. It's always you go up, you go up, you go up in the number of empty cells. And the weight will be Q power I. Each time you make choice number I, so the total weight of this story will be Q power, the total sum of this, Q power, the number of inversion. And this is the classical Q analog of n factorial. It's counting permutation by number of inversion. So Laguerre history and the moment of Laguerre polynomial. So now we are going to check that if I take the sum of the weight of all this, 2k plus 2, k plus 1, it must be n plus 1 factorial. So if I take all the Motzkin paths of length 3, put this weight, 2, 2, 2, bk for k equals 0 is 2, here the weight is 2, 1 multiplied by 2, this is all the weight south step, east step, etc. And you take the product. For each of these 4 Motzkin paths, total weight is 8, 4, 4, 8, and you sum all this number, 24, which is 4 factorial. So this experimental fact, if you do it for NAN, you will do so. So you have to prove that, to give a commutative proof that the sum of the weight of all these paths with this weight is n factorial. In fact, n plus 1 factorial. So I have my bk, yes?
Do you recall how did you assign the weights for the Motzkin path?
The weight is, you put bk when you have a east step at level k, like this, you see, bk, or bk here. This is b1, and b1 by convention will be here 4. And lambda k is a product kk plus 1. So here I am at level 1. So product kk plus 1 is 1 multiplied by 2. It's a regular, it's just a weight as I've defined in chapter 1 of Motzkin path for the general weight bk lambda k, and you replace bk by this and lambda k by this. And in that case, I must get n plus 1 factorial as a sum of the weight of all Motzkin paths of length n. And so there is a trick, because I am going to give an history. Here is linear. We have seen this story with inversion. Each time the number of free cells is linear in the parameter going in the history. But here it's quadratic. If you have a quadratic number of choice, you must choose something in a grid, or it's going to be really complicated. So there is a trick that to transform this into a linear and linear. Everything must be linear to get a beautiful history. So in fact, I am in Motzkin path. In Motzkin path, each step going up can be paired if you go in the Motkin path, and the first time you reach the southeast step, then I'm going to pair these two paths and put a new valuation on the northeast and southeast. So I will put three valuations, AK and CK, such that the lambda K is going to be the product of AK minus 1 CK. So if I put this weight, if you put AK equal K plus 1, CK equal K plus 1, then you will get this weight lambda K equal AK minus 1. So first you split this quadratic polynomial into two, which gives this two weight for AK, CK. Now there is one more step. Is instead of taking 2K plus 2, to write it as K plus 1 plus K plus 1. It will be very convenient.
But lambda K should be...
Lambda K. Lambda K, you see. I am at level K. Here I am level K. So CK, here it's AK minus 1. And here is CK. So the product of the two must be lambda K. So if I put lambda K, KK plus 1, so AK minus 1 is K, multiplied by K plus 1. But now there is one more trick, is to make double the E step in blue and in red. Two color. Instead of taking directly 2K plus 2, to put K plus 1, K plus 1. First, it's more beautiful to have everybody K plus 1. And second, there is a Q analog reason. If you have seen one of the previous class on Q-Laguerre polynomial, because if you take the natural Q-Laguerre coming from the passé, natural Q-Laguerre, the Q analog of the BK will not be the Q analog of 2K plus 2. It will be the Q analog of K plus 1 plus the Q analog of K plus 1, which is not the same as taking the Q analog of this. So if you look Q analog, you are forced to have to split this polynomial in two, in K plus 1 plus K plus 1. Okay, let's see now what happened of this small trick on a Motkin path. So here is a Motkin path with a regular weight. Each level step will be B index K. Each southeast step will be lambda K. So here you have B1, lambda 2, lambda 1, B0, lambda 1. The weight of this Motkin path is a product of all this. Now I split this valuation lambda K into two, which is going to give me this A1, A2, and then I split also the valuation in blue and red. So here is the association of a northeast and southeast step, so that A1, C2 give you lambda 1, lambda 2. So this is the association of each step. And now the blue and red are going to give you this valuation. So there will be a valuation for the blue and a valuation for the red. So now I'm going to take the moment of as a sum of the weight of all two-color Motkin paths. It's no more Motkin paths. There is a color on the level. Motkin path is because it was introduced by Motkin. The number of Motkin paths of length n is the Motkin number. But the magic of cointric, if you put two color on the Motkin path, the number of Motkin paths, two color of length n, will be the Catalan number Cn plus 1. So I am back to familiar word of Catalan. Now this manipulation of changing the weight, what it means in terms of sum, so you have the weight V, the regular weight for 2K plus 2, KK plus 1. I will denote by V star the new valuation for a two-color Motkin path. So it's clear that this summation is the same as the summation over all two-color Motkin paths with this weight. It's because if you take a Motkin path, all the weight northeast, southeast will be paired by 2. This will give you the good lambda K. But for each Motkin path, there will be many possibilities of putting the blue and the red. So for a single Motkin path, there will be many two-color Motkin paths, 2 power the number of each step, and this will be included in this big summation. So what I have to prove, I want to show the moment of the Laguerre are equal to this, so you have to show that the sum of this equal n plus 1 factorial. You have to find a bijection between explaining this. The bijection will be with history. So Laguerre history will be with two-color Motkin path with 4 possible steps. And this unique bijection will give you the moment of all this Hermite, Laguerre, Charlier, Mexner, Mexner, Pollex. Why Polacek? Why? It's because you see, for the general Schaeffer, you have a polynomial of degree 1, polynomial of degree 2. When you split the lambda k into this, then you will split this polynomial of degree 2 into 2 polynomial of degree 1, degree 1. Then here you don't see the interest putting 2 color, but for the combinatorics, you in it blue and red. And so you see, for the general Schaeffer, we split in 4 possible valuation. Of course, there will be some choice. You can put the A, or you can put this. You can put this as a blue level and this as a red level, or maybe to put in a different way. Put A k minus 1 and give one choice. But you can split this BK into many different ways. So you have to look carefully what are the BK lambda k for Schaeffer and split it in a good way so that it fits with the Laguerre bijection. So now the main definition, Laguerre history definition. So H for history, Laguerre history is a pair omega index C and a vector P. So I explain, here is a Motkin path. So omega is just a Motkin path. C is a coloring of the east level. The choice of color, blue or red. Here I have 4 possible choices for the Motkin path. Now P is a vector. P is a certain vector. So here is these 2-color Motkin paths are weighted by these 4 possible valuation for going up, blue step, red step, blue step, and going down. And now P is a vector. P for possibility, number of possibility. P is a vector P1, P2, Pn. So N is the length of the path, means the path has N elementary steps. So each elementary step will be denoted omega 1, omega 2, omega n. Is a sequence of elementary steps, which are 4 possible elementary steps. And then this P means that Pi, each individual component of the vector, is between 1 and the weight of the corresponding. So here, if you have omega at level k, then all possible, the weight will be k plus 1. So it will be the choice of a number between 1 and k plus 1. So this is the idea of history. This was the idea of Françon, but he was coming from computer science. The idea in data structure, like binary search tree, you perform some primitive operation, adding an element in a data structure, in a priority queue or a dictionary. So you have a sequence of primitive operation. And each primitive operation, there is a certain number of choice. Because if you have a binary search tree, for example, what is important is not the numbers themselves. Each element in the binary tree is coded by an integer, a number. What is important is the relative position of integer between each other. So the computation, the cost, it will not depend on the exact value attached to the data, but just the total order of your element. So what is important? Only the number of elements. There is a certain cost. So a sequence. So the idea of history, you have a sequence of primitive operation. And for each primitive operation, you have a certain number of choice. But in a dictionary, okay, or in a polyurl, you put ball, you add, delete, color, and you start from an empty dictionary, and you put many things. At the end, you finish with an empty dictionary. And Françon remarked that total number possible history was n factorial. So this was in computer science. But now in combinatorics, you are going to perform a sequence of primitive operations, but at the end, you will get a permutation. Because I am going to construct a permutation. Exactly in the same way, the inversion table, what I have done with the the reciprocal bijection, I was adding 1, 2, 3, so I was performing a sequence of primitive operation. Each time there was 1 choice, 2 choice, 3 choice, 4 choice, but the primitive operation was always the same. There was only a single possibility to add an element, add 2 new empty cells on the left and right. Now here there is 4 steps which correspond to 4 possible elementary operations. So Laguerre history, you see, it's a sequence of this omega I. It's a sequence. I am going to perform 4 different primitive operations, and for each operation, I have a certain number of choices to do my construction, and at the end, I will get a permutation. So bijection between Laguerre history and permutation on n+1 element. So if the path is of length n, I will say that the length of the Laguerre history is the length of the path. So there is different description of this bijection. You can describe this with word. Next time you can describe this with binary tree. You can describe this with cycle, permutation cycle. So there is different description, which are all equivalent. I will here make the first description with word. So here is an example. I have a path omega with n possible steps. This is my 2-column Hodgkin path. So here the weight is always k+1. If k is a level of the starting point. So 2, starting point 2, this is level 3, so this goes 3, 2, 1, 1, 2. So this is a weight, k+1 for each of the 4 possible elementary steps. And now you have to choose a choice function, choose a number between 1 and so this is my blue number. See, so okay, you have 2 choice, 1 choice, 1 choice. So I take this blue number. Maybe I leave them with a black number. So this is the weight k+1. This is the number possibility. So this defines me a Laguerre history. I have everything, and I must construct a permutation. And here is the construction. So first you read your path, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one by one. So I put it in column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For each of this number, I put what is the kind of path. So this was northeast. This was the blue level, northeast, southeast, etc., etc. So this is the valuation, k+1 for each of these steps, and this is a choice function. Now I construct my permutation. It's a legal analog of the inversion table, but more complicated. In inversion table, there was only 1 primitive operation. No problem. Tuck, tuck, tuck. 1, 2, 3, 4. The choice function was always increasing by 1. So now I go northeast. So the rule, you put the value 1. Here, there's only 1 choice. And when the step is going northeast, you add a new cell on the left and a new empty cell on the right, or free position or empty cell. And now there is 2 possible choices for the next. I am at level 2 I am at level 1 in the Hodgkin path, and so the weight is k+1, which is 2. So the weight of this E step is 2, you see. And I am going to insert the 2 in 2 different ways. So take choice number 2. So here I think I label the choice from 1, 2, 3, 4, from left to right. So choice number 2, I take this free cell, you put the 2 inside, and now there is 4 possible ways. 4 possible. So when it's a red step, you put it on the left. I remember this because the red flag, Communist Party, everything is on the left. So red means go to the left. Put on the left. And the blue is supposed to be in front of the right party. It's on the right. So blue is... because maybe I make some confusion in my previous course. Each time the blue and red, you have to decide if you put left or right. But this year, I decide...
but in India, blue is also on the left.
Well, it's a mixture of culture. So you have to adjust. I think it's supposed to be on the internet. So in many countries, maybe I think people from different countries look at this, and I cannot please everybody. But in previous, maybe last year it was the blue was on the left. Oh, you know that. But you have to change, not to be fixed on a color and to be fanatic for blue or red. Oh, you have to open your mind, and this is the way to be tolerant, to do this kind of rule. So the next one, I go, so yes, so I open only one cell, you see. So the number of possible positions is invariant. So I am at a level. Now I am 3. Okay, 3, I have 2 possibilities and take position 2. So again, 1, 2, 3, and now when I go up, I put a new empty cell on the left and on the right. See, when you fill up the 3, you decrease by 1 the number of possibilities, but adding this on the left and right, you increase by 2. So the total is increasing by 1. So now I have 3 possible choices for the next candidate. Next candidate is 4, and I have 3 choices. Take choice number 1. And this guy is very selfish. He does not open everything. So he closes no cell on the left, no cell on the right. No color, no party color. You are in the middle, I don't know, maybe yellow. And so number of positions have decreased by 1. From 3 open positions, I have 2 positions. So the next one will have only 2 possibilities. And the 5 go down. And again, I take the second possibility. And again, I don't open everything. So I am with only 1 position. This means I am at the floor level. I am touching the x-axis. I have started with an empty position at the beginning. So when I go back to the x-axis at level 0, I am with 1 empty position. It's good because if it was completely closed, then I cannot go further construct my permutation. There is only always at least 1 free position because at level 0, the number of choices is k plus 1 equal 1. So at level 0, there is 1 choice. So here I have 1 choice for the blue. There is only 1 possibility, and I put the blue, and I put a free cell on the right. Now 7, I am increasing. I have only 1 possibility, and I open 2 new cells, left and right. 8, I have 2 positions, and you take the second position, and I have finished with 2-column Hodgkin pass. I was starting with 1 free position, and I finish at the 0 level. I have 1 free position. But I must have a permutation. So I introduce a 9 at the end, and I get n plus 1 factorial. So this is a bijection. This is a bijection between Laguerre history of length n. It's a 2-column Hodgkin pass with some weight, some choice function, and permutation on n plus 1 element.
Clearly reversed.
So to convince you that it is bijection, I am going to construct the reverse, the reciprocal bijection. How to go back from permutation to Laguerre history. So first, I have a permutation. I am going to give back the 2-column Hodgkin pass first. And then I will give the possibility. So if you look at this permutation, you look the up-down sequence. I am going down, up, down, the up-down sequence. But then I have a convention to add a 0 at the beginning and to add a 0 at the end, which will make that this will be a rise. This is from 0 to 4, and this will be a descent. I put 2 extra values, 0, 0 on both sides. And now I can distinguish each value of the permutation. You can define the valley, or trough, or les creux, the double rise, double descent, and the peak. So for each value, you look if on the left or on the right is blue or red. So to please my Indian friend, I put blue on the left and red on the right. To make pleasing or confusion in other countries. So valley means, you see, the valley is 1, 7, and 3. Is you go down, you reach, and you go up. A double rise, you up, up. double descent, down, down, a peak, up, down. So here is my permutation. So the valley are 1, 3, 7. The peak are 4, 5, 8, 9. Double descent are 2. And double rise are 6. And so I can associate for each of these 4 possible cases, I can associate 4 possible steps for my Motzkin path. And I get this 2-column Motzkin path. It's a succession of, because you go back to level 0. It's because between peak and valley, you cannot have many peaks and no valley. Each time there is a peak, there is a peak, valley, peak, valley, peak, valley. There is a succession which give easily you can understand that this will give you a Motzkin path, and double rise, double descent will give you the blue and red level. So I have constructed my 2-column Motzkin path just from the looking the up-down sequence of the permutation, adding an extra 0 at the beginning and at the end, and looking the 4 possible quality for each element inside the permutation. Now I have to define the choice function. So there is different possibilities. There is a direct possibility. If you give me 7, what is the choice function of 7? There is a formula for this. So first I need a definition. You give me a permutation, and you give me x between 1 and n. Sometimes I already distinguish index and value. Index is I, and value is sigma of I. So your x will be a value, an element which I can write sigma of I. It's one, when you look the permutation as a word, it will be one of the letter, will be one of this number. So definition, X decomposition, it's a unique way, it's a decomposition such that, say you have some blue word, some word in red. So all the letters, or each block, in this blue block, all the letters are strictly less than X. In each block in red, Vj, all the letters are greater or equal to X. Which means when you look the permutation, say you look, then there is as long as there is all the letters are less than X, then you are constructing the blue block. And when suddenly a letter is bigger than X, then you begin a red block. Maybe you continue with the letter bigger than X, and during the process you will meet the value X. But maybe the first blue block and the last blue block maybe are empty. You can start with a permutation which directly starts with letter bigger than X. So an example, this permutation, which was permutation I took from the Motzkin path, and X equals 3. So here is a X decomposition. I use the word decomposition because later there will be X factorization also. So from left to right, so U1 is empty, V1 is 4, okay, now it's less than 3, now it's bigger 6, 9, 8, 3, 5, always bigger or equal to 3, and then 2 is less. And then you look, X in the block number, in the block V2. This is the general picture. X is somewhere in the permutation. In blue, all the block of letters strictly less than X. In red, all the block bigger or equal to X. So X is somewhere. And so the rule is the following. The reverse bijection. If you have Pi, now I replace X, I is X in fact. Take the value I was denoting this by X. So the possibility Pi for the value I is equal to J if and only if I is a letter of the word Vj in the I decomposition. So you just look, for example here, you see, you take your letter X and you look in which block has an index Vj, so the possibility for the value X will be exactly J. Here, for example, 3. 3 in the second block. So the possibility for 3, when I add 3 in my direct bijection, I have possible choice, and I took choice number 2. So let's check for our example, our permutation. So here is my Laguerre history with the Motzkin path, etc. Here is the permutation I get at the end. And here is 3 in this block. And something is missing here. So 3 is, yes, 3 is, you look at 3 here, for example. 3 is, there was 2 possibilities, and 3 is the second block. The possibility for 3, P index 3 is 2. I have chosen the second choice, and second choice means that X is in the block V index 2. So this is a way to recover exactly the. Well, you have to prove this. This is a lemma. You have to prove that this proposition that if I do the construction, the possibility for X, or here I denote X by I, Pi is going to be exactly the index of J when I is inside the block number V index J. Maybe I go back to the reverse construction. Just a remark. This was a Motzkin path, a 2-column Motzkin path. This was a weight. This is the possible number of possibilities. At the end, I get this permutation by adding all my. So if I go back now in this process, delete the 9, delete the 8, delete the 7. When you delete the 7, there is 3 empty cells. So make a rule that empty multiplied by empty equal empty. So each time I am reversing the construction, each of these empty brown cells are exactly the block here, the red block, because all this empty cell is going to be filled up by number bigger than. So you can, going backward in the construction, and you get exactly each time the X factorization, and you can give a proof of this lemma that the possibility for I was index J when I is inside the block Vj in the I decomposition. So this is a visual proof. You can put it in Word and. This is interest doing Bayesian because the proofs are visual, and if you give all the detail in the book, then it can be destroy the beauty of it. But if you look at the pictures, then you have to think after, look at the slide, think, and then, okay, I am convinced that this is true. Up to maybe some mistake I am making, but this is an oral, this is a video book, and I am not writing, I am speaking, and so, of course, when you write a book also, you will make mistake. So speaking is worse. So there's another way to characterize P index I. P index I, another lemma, is also defined by the following. J is 1 plus a number of triple, A, B, I, having the pattern 3, 1/2. Oh, so what does it mean? You know, there is a whole field of maybe even every year there is a meeting on forbidden pattern, and you are counting permutation with forbidden pattern. For example, a pattern 2, 1, 3. This is going to be Catalan number or some pattern. And when you put in general pattern, it's a certain pattern inside as a subword of the permutation, not a factor. But when there is a convention here with a slash, means these 2 values must be consecutive inside. And 3, 1, 2 means that A equals sigma of K, B equals sigma of K plus 1. These 2 values are consecutive. I equals sigma of L, and with this index K and strictly less than K plus 1 than L. And so the minimum letters, 1 is the smallest. So this is a B. Then, no, the 3, the first one, 3 is, let's put the picture, yes, okay. So this is A, you see the biggest, then the next one is B, and then I is between the two. I is between B and A. So this is the pattern, you see. If you look the permutation in a graphical way, you will have these 3 points like this. These 2 points are consecutive, and this one may be far away from the... So I claim that this value J, the Pi, the index of the block Vj, I claim that this is exactly the number of such patterns. So this is very important because usually people, this distribution of permutation according to the number of such patterns, this is the Q analog of permutation we have need in the PASEP. In the model we studied, many chapter was last year on the partially asymmetric exclusion process in physics, and the Q Laguerre, the Q analog, instead of defining in history and Q power number of choice, etc., it can be defined as the number of such. If you take the total number of patterns like this in a permutation, this will be the Q analog, which we have used last year for the PASEP model. And this Q analog is different from the Q analog inversion of permutation. It's not the same. So proof of the theorem. It's if you have here the I decomposition, I Pi is equal to J, and here is a I decomposition. So this pattern A, B, I is exactly, if you look the pattern, it's a B is going to be the last letter of a red block. The other one, the consecutive value, is when you change from a red block to a blue block. And then X, I, is between these two. So this pattern, each pattern corresponds exactly to changing from a red block to a blue block on the left of I. So the number of such patterns is exactly the index of the blocks, which is J. So this is the elementary definition of the Laguerre history, the bijection between permutation and Laguerre history. So I think I will, next time we will put the parameter alpha, the weighted Laguerre history. I am going to put the parameter alpha, and what does it mean in terms of permutation? So this will be called weighted Laguerre history. Laguerre history was content by n plus 1 factorial, and then we will put a weight alpha inside the possibility. There will be, so you see there is a, because in the first paper there was some confusion because everything was weighted path. There is a Motzkin path weighted by the k plus 1, k plus 1, k plus 1. Then there is a possibility, which again another weight on the Motzkin path. And then I am going to weight this weighted path. So this was vocabulary was now it's everybody uses vocabulary history, Charlier history, Hermite history, Laguerre history, and then weighted history, which come from a weighted Motzkin path, etc. So I will stop here, and next time I will do the weighted Laguerre history and the parameter alpha. Okay, so thank you very much.